At 85 years old, the legendary singer and actress Toni Tennille has finally chosen to share the big secret truth she held inside for almost her entire life. For many, many years, everyone only saw the shiny parts, her huge success, her warm, bright smile, and the wonderful songs she sang so beautifully. Now, with gentle courage, she's ready to let us see the real emotional journey, the ups and downs, and the private tears that happened far away from the stage lights and cheering crowds. She was the sparkling, powerful voice of the world-famous duo Captain and Tennille, touching millions of hearts with forever songs like the joyful Love Will Keep Us Together. To all the fans who loved them, their life looked like a magical, perfect love story straight out of a fairy tale. But hidden behind every standing ovation, every #1 hit, and every happy photo, Toni was quietly carrying very heavy sadness, loneliness, and inner pain that almost no one ever noticed or guessed. People imagined her marriages as dreamy, picture-perfect romances full of passion and happiness. In truth, those relationships were often filled with deep feelings of being alone even when someone was right there. Shattered hearts, tough life choices, and private struggles she never let the public see or hear about. After choosing to stay silent and protect those stories for decades, Toni Tennille is now bravely opening her heart to talk about the real love experiences that shaped who she became, the hard truths she once kept locked away, and the wise lessons she discovered through heartbreak, loss, and learning how to keep going strong. Before we hear more of her touching story, if you're a big fan of Toni Tennille like so many people are, please hit that subscribe button on our channel. It means a lot. She was born Catherine Ann Tennille on May 8, 1940, right in the heart of Montgomery, Alabama, growing up in a home filled with music playing, creative ideas floating around, and big dreams being cheered on every day. Being the oldest of four sweet sisters, she was raised in a loving family where everyone was encouraged to follow their passions and reach for the stars. Her father, Frank Tennille, owned and ran a furniture business to support the family, but years earlier he had sung professionally with a popular band called Bob Crosby's Bobcats, so music and performing still lived in his heart. Her mother, Catherine Tennille, was an amazing role model too. She actually hosted her very own daily television show in Montgomery, which was something really special and rare for a woman in those days. Toni's early years mixed classic Southern charm, family closeness, and lots of artistic inspiration, planting the seeds of her lifelong love for music when she was still a little girl. After graduating from Sidney Lanier High School, she headed to Auburn University, where she studied beautiful classical piano and loved performing with the lively, swinging Auburn Knights big band that got everyone dancing and smiling. Music truly felt like her destiny, guiding her forward, until one hard year suddenly changed everything. In 1959, her dad's furniture business sadly failed, so the whole family had to leave their Alabama home, pack up their lives, and move across the country to start over in Baldwin, California. That move turned out to be a huge turning point that reshaped Toni's path in ways she never expected. She gently set her music dreams aside for a while and started working regular jobs to help the family. First, as a quiet file clerk keeping papers organized, and later as a statistical analyst who worked with numbers and data every day. Even though her weekdays were spent in plain offices doing ordinary tasks, the dream of singing and performing never really left her heart. It just waited patiently, like a song on pause, for the perfect moment to play again loud and clear. Long before Toni Tennille became a household name as one half of the beloved Captain and Tennille, she lived through a very private, little-known chapter of her life that stayed mostly out of magazines and interviews. In the early 1960s, while she was still figuring out how to make it in the exciting but unpredictable music and entertainment world, Toni married for the first time to a man named Kenneth Shearer. Back then she worked mostly behind the scenes, helping with music arrangements, doing small theater jobs, and quietly building her skills, long before any spotlight found her. Their marriage stayed very low-key and private, happening far from cameras, reporters, and fame, while Toni kept dreaming and working toward her future. It was a simple, modest relationship that in the end lasted less than 10 years, ending quietly in divorce in 1972, just a couple of years before her career was about to take off like a rocket. In the interviews she gave later on, and especially in the honest memoir she wrote, Toni only spoke about this first marriage in a very short, gentle way. There was never any anger, blame, or juicy drama in her voice, just a peaceful, grown-up acceptance of what happened. She explained calmly that the relationship didn't give her the emotional warmth, support, or creative spark she deeply needed as a young woman still discovering her own strength and voice. No big scandals, cheating, or loud fights ever happened. It was simply two people realizing they didn't quite fit together in the ways that mattered most to her heart and her growing dreams. Looking back many years later, Toni sees that first marriage not as a terrible mistake, but as a soft, important life lesson that taught her what she truly wanted and needed. It was a stepping stone chapter, one that ended not with chaos or bitterness, but with quiet clarity and understanding. Even though the marriage never felt fully alive or joyful, it gently prepared her heart and mind for the bigger love and bigger changes waiting just ahead, softly closing one chapter as a beautiful new one was about to begin. That life-changing moment arrived unexpectedly in Los Angeles, when Toni got the chance to join a fun rock musical production that would flip her whole future upside down in the best way. It was inside that show that she first met Darryl Dragon, an incredibly talented keyboard player who had already toured and recorded with the famous Beach Boys. Darryl didn't just notice that Toni was a good singer. He saw her special presence, her powerful yet warm voice, and the natural way she could shine and lead on stage. The two of them clicked instantly on a musical level, and soon formed the duo Captain and Tennille, blending their different talents into a smooth, heartfelt sound that would soon become the soundtrack of the 1970s soft rock era. Their giant breakthrough happened in 1975 when the happy, uplifting song, "Love Will Keep Us Together," shot straight to #1 on the charts and stayed there. That song won them a Grammy Award and turned them into America's favorite musical sweethearts almost overnight. Not long after, they started their own cheerful television variety show that made families everywhere feel like Captain and Tennille were their fun musical friends who lived right in their living rooms. To the whole world watching, they looked completely perfect together, always laughing, touching, gazing at each other, and seeming like the ideal loving couple who made music and life look easy and joyful. But many years later, Toni bravely told the truth about how different things really felt behind closed doors. In the memoir she published in 2016, she looked back honestly and admitted that she played along with the happy couple story because that was the sweet image the public loved and expected from them. Away from the cameras, microphones, and smiling photo shoots, her real relationship with Darryl was often filled with emotional distance, words left unsaid, quiet tension, and a growing sense of loneliness that hurt her heart deeply. Even so, she kept showing up on stage night after night with warmth, smiles, and beautiful singing, hiding her private unhappiness so the show could go on perfectly for the fans. To millions of people, she was the glowing, joyful half of a dreamy musical love story. But inside her own life, she was making constant compromises, holding back her true feelings, and carrying silent sacrifices that fame sometimes quietly demands. Her journey is a gentle, touching reminder that the happiness we see shining on TV or in magazines can sometimes hide real pain, confusion, and longing deep inside. It's a beautiful yet bittersweet story woven together with huge success, sweet nostalgia, and a quiet, long-lasting sadness that only she truly knew for so many years. The relationship between Toni Tennille and Darryl Dragon started as something really special. A deep musical bond built on lots of respect and a perfect understanding of each other's music talents. Tony was amazed right from the start by how incredible Darryl was. He played the keyboards like magic and arranged songs in such smart, creative ways. He had this quiet, thoughtful personality that felt mysterious and interesting to her, especially when they first started working together on music ideas. As they spent more time making songs side by side, their friendship grew stronger and slowly turned into real romantic feelings. What began as just teamwork in the studio gently grew into love, and they got married in 1975. The exact same exciting year when Love Will Keep Us Together became a massive #1 hit and an anthem that made everyone feel hopeful and happy. From the outside, looking in through TV screens and magazine pictures, they seemed totally glued together. True partners in both music and everyday life. Admired by so many as one of the longest-lasting, sweetest couples in all of pop music history. But behind that pretty, polished picture, the fans saw their real everyday life was much more complicated and sometimes painful. Darryl was naturally very private. He kept his feelings locked up tight, stayed emotionally guarded, and often seemed far away even when they were in the same room. Tony later described him with kindness as a good, decent man who just carried his own heavy personal struggles inside. His strong need to be in control quietly shaped almost everything in their marriage. He handled all the money decisions by himself without much talking about it, and he almost always avoided deep emotional conversations or any kind of argument. He just wasn't able to open up and share what he felt, Toni said softly in her reflections years later. The huge difference between their super successful public life, full of cheers, awards, and sold-out shows, and their private home life full of distance started to hurt more and more as time went on. Little by little, Toni found herself slipping into the role of the one who took care of everything, planning the days, handling responsibilities alone, and living in a marriage where there wasn't much warm affection, cuddly moments, or real heart-to-heart talking. While millions of fans listened to their beautiful songs about love, closeness, and sticking together forever, Toni was quietly dealing with bigger and bigger feelings of being all alone inside. She kept telling herself that staying loyal meant hanging on no matter what, that it was her job to stand by him through everything. But as the years kept passing, the heavy weight of always compromising, holding back her own needs, and wishing for more connection just grew too big to carry quietly anymore. And the pretty illusion of their perfect partnership slowly started to crack and fade away. The love story that everyone celebrated on records, on TV specials, and in concert lights actually hid many long years of silent struggles, big personal sacrifices on her part, and a deep loneliness that only she truly felt. Their life together is a gentle but serious reminder that even when someone has fame, hit songs, and everything looking perfect on the outside, there can still be real, hidden personal pain deep inside. Still, even with all those challenges, Toni Tennille chose to stay with Darryl Dragon for almost 4 full decades, a really long time filled with ups, downs, and everything in between. Yet the one thing her heart wanted most of all, true emotional closeness and feeling deeply connected, stayed just out of reach, like something she could see but never quite touch. Over the years, more and more silence built up between them, like an invisible wall getting taller. She longed for the simple, sweet things: cozy talks late at night, little reassurances that she was loved and seen, warm hugs, and the comforting feeling of really being understood by the person right next to her. Instead, she often got quiet distance and emotional absence that left her feeling empty. As she shared later with honesty, she spent so many years trying her very best to fix what felt broken in their connection, hoping one day it would feel right again. Eventually, though she couldn't keep pretending or hoping forever, the truth became too clear to ignore. Darryl either couldn't or wasn't willing to meet her need for that deep heart connection she craved so much. Even though they shared the same home, the same bed, and the same daily life, Toni often felt completely alone, unseen and unheard by the one person who was supposed to be closest to her. In her 2016 memoir, simply called Toni Tennille, a memoir, she wrote about this pain in such clear, touching words. She would lie beside a man who couldn't give her the love and closeness she needed back. Those honest words really capture the sad center of her heartbreak, a shared life where emotional walls stayed up high, never coming down. Darwell wasn't cruel or mean, and their marriage never turned abusive or scary. But his way of pulling away emotionally left Toni feeling trapped in a relationship built more on quiet routine and longing than on warm, open love. Year after year, she held on, clinging to the tiny hope that maybe someday a small change would happen and bring the intimacy her heart was aching for. Slowly, that hope started to fade away like a song getting quieter, replaced by a soft but constant ache that she finally couldn't push aside anymore. By 2014, after decades of giving so much of herself, making sacrifices, and holding everything inside to keep things going, Toni Tennille made the really hard but important choice to end the marriage. When she looked back later, she explained gently that leaving wasn't about hurting him. It was about protecting her own heart, her happiness, and her well-being after so long. Her brave decision shows how thin and delicate the line can be between staying loyal forever and realizing you need to survive and thrive too. It's a powerful, quiet lesson that even the deepest love can't keep growing strong without both people truly showing up emotionally for each other. Tony's decision to separate from Darryl Dragon was never about anger, hate, or wanting to hurt him in any way. Even after the divorce papers were signed and everything became official in 2014, her caring heart toward him stayed exactly the same. She still felt responsible and full of compassion. When Darrell's health began to get worse because of a serious brain and nerve condition that doctors later named Parkinson's disease, Toni stepped in quietly to help in the most loving ways she could. She made sure he could live very close to her in the peaceful town of Prescott, Arizona, so she could be nearby whenever he needed someone. She visited him regularly, checked on how he was doing, and even helped organize parts of his daily care so he felt safe and looked after. Later on, she shared with gentle honesty, "I never meant to abandon him, I just couldn't stay in the marriage anymore." What surprised a lot of people, and even surprised Darrell himself sometimes, was that their connection didn't disappear after the divorce. They still stayed in each other's lives in a new, kinder way. Even though Toni tried many times to explain her reasons for leaving, Darrell had a hard time fully understanding why she needed to go, a confusion that had actually been part of their relationship for many years. For so long, she had poured out affection, companionship, and support, only to meet emotional walls and silence in return, that same quiet distance that had made things so hard. But when the time came and Darrell needed her the most, Toni was right there without hesitation. She became a steady, comforting presence during his final years, showing up with care and kindness. And in 2019, she held his hand gently as he passed away, staying by his side until the very last moment. Her sadness was deep and real tears for someone she had loved for decades, but it was mixed with a peaceful clarity inside her heart. She had loved him sincerely and truly, but choosing to leave the marriage had been about saving her own spirit and finding freedom, just as much as it was about love. The divorce didn't erase the bond they once had. It simply changed its shape into something softer and healthier. It allowed her to keep being there for him in the ways that mattered most, while finally giving herself permission to live her own life fully too. In that beautiful, careful balance between staying devoted and choosing independence, Toni Tennille's story shows the quiet strength it takes to honor both love for another person and love for yourself. For decades and decades, Toni kept her personal struggles completely hidden behind the big, bright, sunny smile that fans everywhere connected with her soft rock hits and her cheerful moments on television next to Darryl. Then in 2016, she made the brave choice to finally speak openly and honestly, publishing her memoir and gently pulling back the curtain on a private life that almost no one had ever really seen. The book wasn't written to point fingers, blame anyone, or start arguments. It was never about drama. Instead, it was a quiet, honest act of understanding herself better and sharing her truth with kindness. Toni explained her goal in the simplest way: to show the world that loving someone deeply doesn't always mean you have to stay in a situation that hurts your heart forever. Inside the pages, she carefully described years of feeling emotionally neglected, of quietly enduring without complaining, and of carrying the hidden cost of keeping up a marriage that looked perfect and happy from the outside. Her writing carried no bitterness, no feeling sorry for herself, just thoughtful, gentle reflection shaped by all those years of silent pain she had held inside. Readers got a rare, special glimpse into the big space that can exist between the shiny public image everyone sees and the real private truth someone lives every day. They also saw the real courage it takes to finally choose your own happiness, even when love is still part of the picture. The memoir stands today as a beautiful proof of strength, emotional wisdom, and clear seeing, a soft but powerful reminder that real love and taking good care of yourself are not opposites. They can both exist together. Toni Tennille's legacy goes way, way beyond just her personal ups and downs. It shines brightest through her incredible music career that's full of warmth, real heart, and songs that still make people smile decades later. Long after Captain and Tennille's biggest, most exciting days in the 1970s and 1980s, Toni never stopped singing. She kept recording new music, performing live, and connecting with fans as a solo artist who could stand strong all on her own. While Love Will Keep Us Together will always be their most famous feel-good #1 smash, her sweet voice also brought magic to other huge hits like The Romantic. Do That to Me One More Time, the playful Muskrat Love, and the fun, upbeat Shop Around. Each one of those songs helped create the cozy, soft rock sound that so many people still love, and they made sure Captain and Tennille would be remembered forever in pop music history. Their cheerful television variety show brought their music and smiles straight into living rooms across America every week, turning Toni into a friendly, familiar face that felt like family to millions. Even outside the duo, Toni's solo albums and special collaborations showed off her classical piano training from her college days, her wide range of talents, and how she could switch styles so easily and beautifully. All through her long career, she bravely tried many different kinds of music. She recorded smooth jazz standards that felt classy and timeless, sang Broadway show tunes with big emotion, and even made warm, cozy Christmas albums full of holiday joy that families still play every December. No matter what style she sang, her special way with words, clear, gentle phrasing, and her rich, warm, feeling-filled voice always stayed the same and instantly recognizable. She had this rare, wonderful gift, mixing perfect singing technique with true, honest emotion, which let her music touch hearts across generations, from kids to grandparents, and keep feeling fresh year after year. In her later years, Toni chose a quieter, more peaceful life in the pretty town of Prescott, Arizona, surrounded by nature and calm. There she stepped into a new role she loved, becoming a mentor and guide for younger singers and musicians, sharing all the wisdom and lessons she learned over her amazing journey. She still comes back to the stage every now and then for special shows, delighting loyal fans who have loved her voice and her kind spirit for so long. Even today, she keeps talking openly and honestly about the hard parts of her life, especially through her heartfelt memoir and in warm, candid interviews that feel like chatting with a friend. That bravery to share the truth has made people admire her even more, not only as one of the greatest singers ever, but as a strong, honest woman who carries herself with quiet dignity and real grace. Her whole life story is about big achievements mixed with never giving up, even when things got tough. It's a sweet reminder that true success isn't just about winning awards, having chart-topping hits, or being famous. It's about staying real, kind, and growing through everything life brings. Today, Toni Tennille is celebrated as a timeless, forever star in classic American pop music. Her voice still wraps around listeners like a warm hug, familiar, comforting, and full of feeling. And what people treasure most about her legacy isn't only those unforgettable songs that make us sing along. It's the real heart, the gentle strength, and the beautiful grace she showed every single day while living her life.